Видели бы, кричит ночная птица, он уже пробрался в дом, где никому не спится.
Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. We have a longer one-shot tonight. It's one we have done before, back in the very beginning of our channel. It's called What Goes Around. It was written by Marcus D. Bone, and I will be the game master. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Arkham is a haunted city with many strange events taking place, especially around the 1920s. It's no wonder, then, that a group of investigators have formed a club to either confirm or deny the existence of the supernatural. Even among club members, those who truly know things are few and part of the inner circle. They keep the secrets from those of us on the outside so that we can all sleep soundly in our beds and be ignorant of the dangers that lurk in the dark. It's May 1924. Still a little chilly, so people have coats and boots to stave off the early morning cold. It's been an all-nighter for some of the Arcane Society's inner circle. They've been putting the final touches on their report of a fake haunting in Bolton. They finally choose to call it a night, or morning rather, as it's 5:30 a.m. on a Saturday. As they leave Corbin Hall in downtown Arkham, the sky above the trees is turning purple-red towards the east, even though the sun is still well below the horizon. As they cross the parking lot, there is suddenly an enormous explosion just down the street of Main Street in Arkham. One of the buildings has exploded. There's a huge ball of flame that's rising into the air. There's a concussion blast that hurts their ears when it hits. Windows in buildings are broken. Flaming debris is thrown into the street. From its position and from where you're standing, you are sure that it is Hayright's jewelry store that has exploded. What do you do?
Well, good heavens! I rush over. I want to see if there's anybody who needs help getting out.
The entire building is engulfed in flame. There are a few residences along Main Street above shops that the lights flick on, of course, as people rush to their windows to see what's happened. Fortunately, there was no residence above Hayright's jewelry store. The building itself is engulfed in flame, and after a few moments, you can hear in the distance sirens, probably of the fire department, heading in this direction, probably police too. But it'll take them a few minutes to get here. I'd like you all to do spot hiddenness.
That's a regular success. 28 out of 45.
I think I've got a cinder in my eye.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Randall.
All right. 97 here.
Randall and Alfred, you are looking around in the street. There are large pieces of wood and there's glass everywhere, and there's things that are on fire. The whole inside of the building is an inferno. But Dr. Blackwell, as you're standing there, you suddenly become transfixed on the inside of the building. There seems to be a large black sort of lump in the center of the fire, and it's moving, and it's sort of changing shape. It's rising up, and it's taking the shape of what looks like a huge wolf-like animal. You see it quite clearly. It almost seems to be glowing with a purple fire around it. And it sort of unwinds itself in the middle of the store, and it moves towards the front window where you're looking in. And as it moves forward, it steps out of the window. It turns towards east down the street, and it begins to slowly walk away. You can do a sanity roll.
Oh, that's a pass. Regular success.
Okay. Do a 1d4.
Okay.
The other two, you can't see anything.
Dr. Blackwell, there couldn't be anybody alive in there.
Did you see that? Did you see that just then?
See, yes, we all saw the explosion.
No. It was almost like a wolf form. I need to go. I need to go see what that. It could be hurt. It could be somebody that's hurt. And I'm just gonna start. I'm not making a lot of sense, and I'm just walking toward where it was.
Okay. Well, you can still see it quite clearly.
Okay.
It's moving down the street, and it seems to have its head raised in the air as if it's sniffing the air. But it's still glowing. It seems to be covered in black fur.
Right.
And it's about 5 feet high at the shoulder. So it's huge. It's the size of a car as it's moving down the street.
Right. And now I'm going to point it out to Randall and Alfred. Look at that.
Neither one of you sees anything.
And there's a great deal of smoke.
Dr. Blackwell, this is all quite overwhelming. If you just want to take a seat here until the authorities arrive.
That could be hurt. That could be. I need to go see.
No one in there.
There's nobody there.
Sir.
Here, I'm going to produce a flask. Here, take a nip of this. Steady your nerves a bit.
I don't want that, Alfred. I don't want. I need to go check on him. He could be hurt. I have a duty. I'm a doctor.
No.
Yes, I mean we have been up all night. Morrison, let's just follow her and see that she gets into no mischief.
All right, fair enough, Randall.
At this point, of course, the fire department arrives. People are jumping out of the truck. They're they've got a gigantic pump on the side of their thing, which they begin to work so they can build up water pressure and start putting it out. People have started to come out of their residences and stand in the street. Dr. Blackwell, you're following the thing down the street?
Yeah, and I'm calling after him. Sir, I'm a doctor. Sir, do you need help?
Right. And the two of you are following behind her?
Yes.
All right. She seems to be in a daze. She's calling out to something that's not there and following along the street as if she sees something. Could it be shock or... you guys were frightened, but you weren't that frightened by the explosion. Dr. Blackwell, this thing doesn't seem to, it seems to have some purpose in mind, like it's sniffing something out, but it doesn't seem to be hesitating, and it doesn't seem to be running, it's walking. And you're hesitant to actually catch up to it.
Sure.
Because it looks like a vicious animal.
You two don't see it?
I'm afraid not, Dr. Blackwell.
It gives me a bad feeling. I don't like it. And it doesn't seem to be injured. And I think maybe my services would be better rendered back at the building. We need to talk about that though. That is very upsetting. I don't like what that is. Whatever that thing is.
It's late. I don't know in such a frazzled and tired state what good you'll do here, but I'm sure
maybe.
Just take a rest.
Okay. All right.
As you are following it, it enters into the Arkham Cemetery, which is down at the end of the street. And as it's moving across the cemetery, the sun begins to peek over the horizon. The sky lightens. And as it is, you can see the thing begins to fade, as if you can see through it at first. And then it gets lighter and lighter as the sun's coming up. But just before it seems to disappear entirely, it stops, it turns its head, and it looks right at you with flaming blue eyes. And then it vanishes. Want to do another sanity roll? It felt like you were stabbed with ice.
I failed that one. Failed
Okay.
that one.
You do just do another 1d4. But for just that moment, you felt like you were stabbed in the heart with ice. And it looked at you.
Dr.
I
Blackwell.
mean, not literally, just in terror as it looked at you.
It vanished. I swear to you, it was there. It went into the cemetery and it vanished.
All right, well,
But it stared at me.
we can come back tomorrow, please. Let's just get you back to the car and get you home.
Okay. All right.
So you're heading back towards Corbin Hall, or
Yes.
you're heading back to where all the commotion's going on.
You don't think
Corbin
we should
Hall.
help the people at the building?
Well, I mean, we'll go back toward the explosion, I assume, on our way to the lot.
Okay.
Yeah, because you were
Yeah.
almost across the street from
Right,
it when
okay.
it happened.
If there is, if there are injuries, although again, no one in the jewelry shop could have survived that conflagration. I thought at
terrible.
first it might be some sort of robbery, but no.
What could have caused that?
So as you are returning, the building is partly engulfed in flame, and the firemen are hosing down the surrounding buildings, hoping that the fire doesn't catch and spread. All three of you looked into the heart of the building, and at this point, it was pretty much gutted by the flames. Everything in there burned. They're still trying to put it out, but it'll be a few hours before they can get it completely, subdued down to nothing. The cops, the firemen are talking to some of the people, asking for witnesses, asking what they saw. And of course, none of them saw anything. But as you approach, heading towards the Corbin Hall, one of them comes up to you, ma'am, gentlemen, did you by chance see anything?
Yes, there was some kind of explosion. We were just heading back to the car now. We thought we saw somebody walking away, but that was not the case.
You thought you saw somebody walking away from that?
It's impossible. It couldn't. I've been up all night. It must have just been exhaustion.
A trick of the smoke.
Do you have any idea? I mean, did you actually witness the explosion?
More or less. We were just down there near Corbin Hall when it began. It wasn't, there was no sign of any kind of fire before the initial blast. It seems as though it was a detonation.
So it's definitely an explosion, not just a gentle fire.
Not a fire.
Exactly, yes.
All right. That's very interesting. We might have questions for you later,
of course,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, here's
my
my
card.
card.
Right. Thank you very much. And he might ask you what you were doing out so late and why you were in the neighborhood, but you have a legitimate answer. So with that, he lets you go. And what are you going to do? Your adrenaline's pretty high at this point.
Yeah. Well, first, Dr. Blackwell, could it have been some kind of like retinal after image sort of thing that was bothering you? Was it pre-dawn and then you suddenly saw a bright light and then it seemed
let me describe it to you and maybe we can think of like a logical explanation for this. It was almost like a this is, bear with me, you know I'm skeptical of these things, so I'm just going to describe it exactly as I saw it. It was
Yes.
almost like a large wolf man, like a very large, like lupine man, very tall,
Bipedal or quadrupedal?
bipedal. And when I saw him inside of the building, he was like, there were flashing colors. And then he just walks out of the building as if he's unbothered by everything that's going on and just walks away. And he's sniffing the air. And then he walks into the cemetery. And as the sun is rising, he starts to disappear. But then he looks at me like he sees me, like he sees like into my soul. And his eyes are like blue fire. It felt horrible. I felt awful for just a moment. I don't know how to explain it.
If it was some kind of apparition, perhaps it traveling back to the cemetery is a good sign. If it found back to its resting place, hope won't no return visits. I hope.
But it was like a wolf. I don't know.
You said it was changing colors.
Yes.
Did it seem fiery, like it could cause an explosion?
I don't think so. It seemed like it existed outside of this explosion and the fire. It was like it was just totally unbothered by it.
Oh, well, I know you well enough to know that you know what that sounds like.
Yeah.
So let's get you safely to home.
Yes.
And badly needed rest. We'll consider it all tomorrow when we're refreshed.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So that's what you do. You go back home. You can't get it out of your mind. It was so bizarre.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not only you, but also the other two that she acted so strangely. Dr. Blackwell is not one for exaggeration. She's a more debunker of skeptics than any sort of thing. She's not given to these kind of wild, crazy things. Is there anything you want to do that night, that morning, before you resume your investigation?
So having quite a lot of money in the family, have I had dealings with Hayrite in the past?
Probably. They're probably one of probably the most prominent jewelry store in Arkham.
So do I know the proprietor?
The proprietor would be John Burton and his wife, Valerie. Valerie, her last name was Hayrite, and he and she inherited the business from Avery Hayrite, the original owner. But you didn't deal with them enough, to know them personally.
Is there anything in the newspaper about it, or is it too soon in the morning?
Probably too soon at the moment. In fact, you find it difficult to sleep. You find it, you probably don't get more than a couple of hours of sleep before you're wide awake again. And you figure they're probably still,
working on the fire.
Working on, putting out, making sure it doesn't reflame or anything. But it's probably died down enough to where you can get a better look if you want one. And you all have contact with one another via telephone.
Mm-hmm. I admit that still hangs heavy on my mind, that figure of that man. I think I'd like to return to the jewelry store. I don't necessarily think they'll allow us access, though.
Well, one thing is, it's a small town, so a lot of you have reputations that people know.
Sure.
So, and they also know that you guys are kind of into investigation. So,
okay.
I think I have a little bit of sway. If I can get us a closer look, if need be.
Okay.
If you want to do that, then I can. If you want to do that, then I can. If need be.
Okay.
If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be. If I can get us a closer look, if need to be. If need to be
So we'll all have a pot of coffee and then meet up there around noon and see where things are at.
Yes.
I'll be very curious as to whether they pulled any bodies out.
Mm.
Reasonable enough.
All right. Say 11:30 or so. You arrive back there. They have cordoned it off Main Street from one end, one block up to one block this way. There is a fire chief that's there who's assessing what he thinks the cause might be. There's a police chief there as well. And there's a couple of other people that are just assisting them. Everything is wet. Everything is black and sooty. And you can see, obviously there's no window any longer. It was completely blasted out. Part of the framework at the front was also destroyed. And the whole building seems to be a big gutted mess on the inside. Fortunately, it did not spread to the buildings next door to it. A little scorched maybe, but that's all. So what do you do?
I'll walk up to an officer. Just, hi, my associates and myself witnessed the blast last night or this morning.
Yes.
We were told that you'd want to ask us some questions.
Yes. The fire chief would probably like to do that. So you walk up, and the fire chief says, "So, you three saw what happened, or at least from a perspective of I was told over there."
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So would you describe it as a red flame, blue flame? Was it a big fireball?
So I kind of want to start walking inside of the scene.
Okay.
Kind of talking. Well, there was a flash of light somewhere in here. I want to say it was of a reddish hue at first, and it kind of burst into a brilliant orange. That's at least what I saw. It was very sudden, but it just almost like a light switch had been turned on. It just flashed out and then kept going, I guess.
And there was quite a lot of debris. We were lucky we weren't closer by. It would have been easy to catch something. Yeah, it's not as though we saw any flame flickering before. I would think if this were, say, a gas leak, there might have been some orange flame before the eruption. But it as far as I noticed, it was quite abrupt. Do you think it was a gas line?
We're actually, that's probably our first guess, is that it is a ruptured gas line. The gas main towards the back of the store is in fact quite damaged at this point. Alfred, as you are walking about, go ahead and do you don't even need a spot hidden. You notice two things. One is in the back of the store, most of what was furniture or cabinets or jewelry cases, they're all almost obliterated. But there is a very large safe in the back. It's about 4 feet wide by 4 feet deep by about 6 feet tall. It's a big one, big old heavy safe. Although it's scorched on the outside, it is intact and has not as yet been opened. There is also a tarpaulin lying on the ground on one side with something underneath it, which you can guess is probably a body.
I'm a physician. Would it be all right if I had a look at the bodies here, or that body at least?
Yes, the coroner's not here yet,
Okay.
so don't.
I'll take care. I'll take care.
Do you know who it is?
Well, it's very difficult to tell from the body who it is. We haven't been able to get a hold of anyone at the Hayrite house yet. but we have sent some people over there.
Is this the only casualty?
Yes, it's the only body that we can find. So you go over to the tarpaulin and you pull it back, and you can do a constitution roll with a bonus dice because you're a doctor.
Yes, that is a success.
All right. So it's pretty bad. The body has been, of course, severely burned. It looks like the arms and legs may have also been broken. So the person may have been thrown across the room when the explosion occurred. Clothing is pretty much gone. You are 90% sure it's a female.
Okay. I'll relay that to the fire marshal as well. I believe this is a female.
Well, then it's very likely Mrs. Haywright. She may have come to the store early to set up or whatever they do in jewelry stores, and
that's a shame.
Somehow managed to ignite the gas.
Maybe she was putting on a tea kettle or something. And was there any sort of residential component to the back of the shop?
No, not at all. The Haywrights live up in uptown Arkham.
And this is where she was found here?
Correct, yes. In that same position. Do a spot hidden for me, Doctor.
I will spin the luck. That is a regular success.
Okay. You notice something odd. Sort of embedded in her neck and chest, possibly from the heat. It looks like she might have been wearing some sort of necklace. The heat partially melted the metal and caused it to eat its way, into her skin. It's pretty gruesome. And it looks like whatever was on the end of it might have been some sort of pendant that's completely destroyed. It's shattered.
Interesting. She was wearing some kind of pendant around her neck. It's gone now.
About this time, they've got somebody who's come in and they're going to try and open the safe. They're just concerned that there might be important documents and something in there, which they will take back to the police department as whatever. It'll go to whoever afterwards. But they want to make sure it doesn't stay in the building.
Has anyone been to the Burton household, or have they just phoned?
They have sent somebody out there, but Mr. Burton seems to be out. I don't think anybody got there until maybe 11. But he's a businessman, so he may have been away on business, or he may be just out for a drive. We don't know yet.
If I should have stopped by on my way over here. Or maybe not.
Did anyone see anything last night aside from us? Were there any other witness accounts?
No, nothing seems to be out of the ordinary.
My first thought, of course, because of what kind of establishment it was, that it was some burglar that would arrive, but there probably would have been an alarm that went off before whatever caused an explosion if the entry were not official.
And you don't think this could have anything to do with bootleggers, do you?
Bootleggers? That's an interesting idea.
If they had alcohol on the premises.
We don't find any evidence of that kind of an accelerant. Nor do we find a basement filled with illegal alcohol. But it's an interesting idea. At this point, we don't suspect anything other than an accident. The guy who's working on the safe manages to pop it open. And you can see inside, as he does so, that there are a number of kind of what you'd expect, some boxes with some very expensive jewelry in there. There are a few wads of cash, and there are ledgers and papers and things like that. The guy turns around to the police chief and he says, "Sir, what would you like me to do with this?" And he says, "Well, we need to just take it and keep it down at the squad house. So put it in your car. We'll take it down there." At which point he begins to unload the safe. He begins by taking all of the paperwork, which there seem to be a number of letters and documents and things like that. He takes those in a big and walks out to his car and places them in the squad car, and then begins to come back to get more of the stuff. What would you guys like to do?
A casual perusal of file folders for names and dates without actually having somebody come over and slap us in irons.
Do a spot hidden roll.
Too much to spend. Too dismal.
Okay. You notice that there are there are file folders and there are a couple of ledgers and things like that, and a couple of odd letters, and some of them look like they're handwritten, but nothing that catches your eye.
No name I recognize or anything else. That's easy peasy. How are the condition of the things in the safe? Are they all
they're in
sorry?
pretty good condition. Yeah,
okay.
The safe kept them pretty safe. Which maybe that's why they call them safes. And it was a big enough safe that even that conflagration didn't quite do any damage to them. How about Alfred and Dr. Blackwell?
I'm thinking it is strange timing that this would happen, and John is not around and no one can find him. That seems strange to me. Alfred, you said you knew this family, at least tangentially through society?
Yes, parties and whatnot. Acquaintances is the best way to put it.
I mean, you mentioned bootleggers. Do you think that they had anything, some other kind of operation other than jewelry going on here?
Well, most people with business interests in the area, let's say, have an interest in.
Sure.
But I don't. I wouldn't picture John to be one to do away with his wife, especially in such a manner as to destroy the business. That doesn't add up to me.
It was her. It was her inheritance, wasn't it? Maybe that has something to do with it.
I mean, unless they have really valuable insurance on it, perhaps that's worth looking into. But I mean, while we think about it, we can take a stroll down to the cemetery, see if that person you saw has left any traces of himself there.
I'd like the three of you to do luck rolls.
Oh, look, I passed a roll. 17.
Oh, 17. That's pretty good. Alfred, as you guys are getting ready to leave the building, walk down, you notice the cop. He's got a big wad of folders and cash and boxes of jewelry. And he steps up to the car where he put the documents and kind of fiddling with it all, he grabs the documents, puts them on top of the car, puts the boxes down on the seat, and then turns around to get more stuff. So the papers are now sitting on top of the car.
Oh, well, that's a...
Randall, do you think you might, I know
Randall's-
you kind of have sly fingers.
Randall's, next trick.
Yes. If you both would point next door for a moment so that any eyes that happen to wander this way follow your arm, I will liberate the top third of this pile.
Okay.
Oh, look at the scorch marks on that building. Are you sure there's no structural damage?
That is strange. I wonder if that neighbor over there saw anything. Maybe if they know anything.
I mean, the fire was right up their
family.
window.
Mm-hmm.
Randall, do a luck roll.
Oh, I rolled a 3. That makes up to the last 5 rolls.
3. Okay. You managed to get a file folder off the top before the policeman starts his way back out. Hide it behind your back. And do you guys walk away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. All right. So you start walking along. You realize that if you had grabbed a third of that the policeman
Little
would
much.
definitely have noticed
Right.
that something was amiss. So as you're walking back towards the cemetery, what do you want to look at the papers?
I think, the cemetery is a great place for a light read.
Okay.
I'm curious, Doctor, if you have a sense of what grave you last saw your wolfman near.
Yeah, when we get there, I'm going to see if I can maybe approximate that.
And I want to be far enough from the site that
Sure.
this paperwork doesn't look interesting to anybody official.
Okay. So you walk down to the cemetery, and you've most likely been there a number of times before. New England cemeteries are popular picnic places, oddly enough. There are flowers on graves, and there are various things. And Dr. Blackwell, you try to sort of retrace where you think the thing was walking. Do a luck roll. Do a spot hidden roll.
Oh, no, it's a 93.
Okay. You're pretty sure that it walked this way. It wasn't really walking down a row. It was
Okay.
sort of crossing from one row, as if it wasn't really paying attention to where the graves were at all. And then
Okay.
somewhere right over here, it just sort of faded away after it looked at you.
Right. I don't think it had a purpose.
You look around
when
at the
it came
graves,
here. Yeah,
and they're just, you recognize a lot of the names because they're
sure.
typical graves. You don't see any Hayrights.
Hmm.
Got your Pickmans, your Uptons, common Arkham names.
Whateleys and Bishops and
Yeah.
those sort of names. But nothing in particular. All right,
Yeah,
so what do you guys
nothing
want to
seems
do?
familiar. Randall, let's
let's
have
see
a
what
look
we
at what you got.
All right. So you open it up, and there are 3 pieces of paper. One of them looks fairly modern. One of them looks like a note that's been just a piece of paper. And the other one looks like a very old piece of paper, like part of an old book that's been torn out. The small piece of paper looks like this.
Oh, well, all right. Somebody has Russian background, evidently.
Um,
Hayright's not a Russian name.
the large piece of paper also looks like this.
Is that
interesting
Greek?
symbol on top?
What is that? What is that language? Is that Greek?
I think that's still Cyrillic. I think we're dealing with an old Russian document.
Oh, I see.
And then the final piece that you find, a modern piece of paper, looks like this.
Dormitory Travel Bureau in Manhattan, New York, specializing in Eastern European travel. Dear Mr. Burton, please find enclosed your travel itinerary. Be aware that your liner leaves pending last tide on the noted date. Unfortunately, we're unable to yet confirm the name of the liner in which you will complete your return voyage, although we will advise you of this arrival in Vladivostok. We wish your journey is pleasant and a safe one, and do hope you find Russia as exciting and wondrous country. Yours sincerely, Peter Dormitory, travel manager. Is there no date?
There is a date on it from about 2 months ago.
2 months? Has he been in Russia this entire time?
It's a hell of a trip. Vladivostok is the other side of the ocean.
That's true.
So either, that could be an enormous, 2 months could be nothing for a trip to the far eastern side of Russia.
You're right.
You'd think whatever, the old piece of paper, is probably not paper, it's probably parchment or vellum or something.
Oh, yes, it's vellum.
Yeah. And inked by hand, obviously, with some... Yeah, I wonder what he was chasing down that took him all the way across the world like that.
In such a remote area.
Yeah,
Well, whatever they got, if it was this writing, they valued it highly enough to put it in their safe, but a safe at the store and not a safe at home.
Nor did they take it with them to the far eastern coast of Russia.
Perhaps this document's what prompted the trip to Russia.
Made a slight mistake. The travel agency, that was from 5 months ago.
5 months ago.
5 months ago.
They could have had time to go there and come back.
That's
I
true.
think in 5 months
true.
that would be enough, although it's still...
Very
That might explain
brief
these
trip.
documents. Maybe that's where he procured these documents.
Either he got the documents there, or these documents are what led him to go. If you can get somebody, I could pay somebody at the university to have these translated for us.
I was going to ask if anyone in the society spoke Russian or could read it, but that's just as well too, Alfred.
Yeah, there's definitely language experts at the university.
Yeah. If only these were in French.
I've got Latin, that's it.
So what's your next move?
Yeah, I think we have a few avenues we could pursue here. I can't shake that wolf creature. I think I'm going to do a little bit of digging into what that could possibly be, even if it leads me down some ridiculous path, at least to put my mind at ease.
Okay.
Well, the university is a perfect place to go. They've got piles of.
I agree. And then we could find a
books.
Russian translator there as well.
All right.
Right then. Miskatonic.
Miskatonic is literally just a couple of blocks over.
Well, then let's do that. Yes.
All right. So you head over to Miskatonic. What would you like to do first at Miskatonic?
I'm assuming translation will take some time, so maybe find a translator first.
Okay. So you head on over to the language department, and there is a Professor Nick Kokolov who works there. He's in his office. Yes, please come in. What can I do for you?
An associate of ours has come across these documents, and we would like to have them translated.
Let's see.
I believe they're in Russian.
Which one would you like to show him first?
Let's do the note first, and keep the possibly valuable document back.
All right. Today, let's see this note. Oh, well, this is this is easily translatable. Here, let me write it down for you. And he says this is from a book, a rather famous Russian book, Darkness of the North. I believe it is written by Sergei Romantov. I believe the university has a number of copies of this book. Here, this is a good enough translation.
Translation excerpt from Darkness of the North. The sons of Velis are the guardians of the soul, guides in the afterlife. To touch their resting place is to ensure your safe passage to God. Born from their father's love of all that is good in the world, they reside in small trinkets, awaiting the passing of their owner to help them leave the mortal coil.
This is part of a much larger text, I'm sure. I'm sure the university has the book. Now what's this other text that you have?
It's much older, we think.
Yes, much older. Let me see. Oh, now this is something interesting. Not so easy to translate. I would say the language, this is a Slavonic language, at least 400 years, perhaps old. This will not be so easy for me to translate. If you give me a few hours, I might be able to translate. I'll have to get the lexicons down to see.
Yeah, so we very much appreciate it.
But where did you get this? This looks like something you would find in a museum. It's in good condition, but
got it from a private collector recently. I like to collect old documents and things.
I see. Well, we should put this in something to keep it safe. We shouldn't touch it with our bare fingers. I have gloves. Show there. All right. Give me a few hours. You can pick this up. I'll see what I can do.
Oh, and what you need in a way of compensation for your time?
This is fascinating. I'm not going to charge you anything. No, this is what I do for a living.
Professor Kokolov, are you from Russia?
Yes.
Is there anything of interest in the way of tourism in Vladivostok?
Vladivostok, like the United States, it's a huge country.
Of course.
I mean, not particularly,
No.
More than any other part of Russia. Most people, why?
I had a friend that was interested in traveling and had mentioned it, and I don't know enough about Russia.
If you're
I'm
going
only
to go
familiar with the
someplace,
largest cities.
I would go to Moscow. Or
Of course.
St.
He's a
Petersburg.
he's a bit of an academic. Is there anything of academic interest there? No?
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
I think it's a fairly large trade center.
okay.
A lot of manufacturing. But other than that, I can't think of
No.
anything.
Maybe they could buy something with one of these sons of Velis in them,
Sons of Velis, it sounds very familiar, but I'm not really a scholar of folklore. Probably the book that comes from, that will tell you more.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
See you again in a few hours.
All right. So next,
Library.
The library.
Yes.
the library. All right. So you arrive at the library. What are you going to look for at the library? As if I didn't know.
An English translation of Darkness of the North.
All right. It doesn't take you more than 10 minutes to locate it. It's a fairly hefty book. And what are you going to look for inside the book?
Dr. Blackwell, you're the one who saw what you saw, if you could, I think you'd be the best one to cope through this.
Yes, and I'll start with where the passage was from and maybe get more of a context for it. But
Okay.
if there's nothing else, then I'll kind of flip through it and look.
All right. Well, as you begin to look for it, it's difficult, obviously, to find a single passage somewhere.
Sure.
In a
It's a
fairly
large book.
tome.
Yeah.
But after 10 minutes perusal, you do run across the term the Sons of Velez.
Okay.
And when you do, this is the passage that you find. Enjoy reading.
Extracts from the Darkness of the North, Stories from Russian Folklore by Sergei Romanatov. The Sons of Velez, the Guides of Death, the Guardians of the Soul, the Bringers of Revenge. The Sons of Velez are known by all these names, and yet the people of ancient Russia do not fear them. Many of the old stories tell of the wicked deeds of men that would go unpunished, how the Slavs killed the Cossack and the Magyar, slaughtered the Chechens, or how women and children were trampled down by horses or burnt in their homes. But the people believed that once these wicked men were dead, they would at last pay for their sins. Velez, the god of the underworld, as punishment for their crimes, would not allow them to sleep eternal. Velez hated the chaos man wrought on each other and wished rather that they danced or sang, made merry or made love. Above all, he loved animals and those that treated flocks and herds with the respect they deserve, for it was not the herds that fed man. For was it not the herds that fed man? As a reward to those men and women who cherished his creatures and he gave them a gift, sacred jewel containers in which resided a son of Velez. These small reliquaries, although precious in life, were more so in death. As on the wearer's death, the sun that resided within awoke and guided the departed to the loving arms of Velez. Unfortunately, today these stones are long gone, vanished like those that worshipped Velez. The Sons of Velez are described as large and immensely strong. To their charges, they appear as friendly beasts, but to others, they are ravenous monsters. Invisible during the day, they always return at night to complete their one and only task. They never fail in all the stories that speaks of them, except for one, the tale of the wicked thief. That tale speaks of an evil man on his deathbed who, by some vicious deed, had acquired a jewel of Velez. A virtuous woodsman learned of this crime against Velez and prayed to the god for guidance. Velez, being a loving and caring god, heard these prayers and came to the woodsman, who in turn explained what had happened. Upon hearing this, Velez was full of sorrow, for although he did not wish for the evil man to enter the underworld, he knew his son would not be stopped from fulfilling his task, for this is the purpose it was created for. The woodsman asked if nothing could defeat a son of Velez, and the god cried out in sadness. Yes, he did know of a way of defeating his son, but he loved him almost as much as he loved mankind, so was loath to reveal it. Yet Velez the god had little choice. An evil soul could not enter the underworld without balance and peace being lost in the world. And so with tears in his eyes, the god told the woodsman the secret of his own son's destruction. That night, as the evil man died, the woodsman lay in wait. And as the son of Velez appeared, the woodsman challenged it. With a large mirror, he confounded the sun by showing it its true reflection. As the beast stood gazing, the woodsman raised his bow and lit the head of one of his arrows. Taking aim not to miss the woodsman, let fly, striking the sun in the heart. How terribly did the son of Velez cry out. But it fell. Its task could not be completed. As it fled back to the arms of his father, it vowed from that day forth its brothers would hunt to the ends of the earth those that harmed the true bearers of their jewels, so never again would a son fail in its task. Bear with me for a minute, and I'm going to delve into ridiculousness. Just indulge me. Valerie was wearing a pendant around her neck, and the pendant itself was missing. And this wolf man I saw seemed to fit the description as in this story. Perhaps the two are intertwined. I know it's foolish, but
well, you know, if the Hayrites came about their little pendant dishonestly, you know, this one defeated son of Velez has vowed itself to hunt down such people.
True. So this seems so ridiculous. Could it have caused this explosion as some kind of punishment, taken the pendant and fled? Yes.
If such things were real.
Yes, if such things. As I said, just an indulgence for just a moment. I don't.
The text is unclear about how it goes about exacting revenge, but a fireball of sorts. You know, if you're a mythical creature, I'm sure is well within your realm of capabilities.
Having examined the corpse, which we fear is Valerie, do you think that she was wearing? Do you think there was a missing jewel, or that it was destroyed by the fire or explosion?
I had originally thought it must have been destroyed in the explosion itself, but the rest of the necklace was intact. If it was made from the same material, I don't see why it would have been destroyed if the rest of it had not been destroyed.
And you've never heard of this Velas before yourself?
No, that is not something.
It is a curiosity that you should have seen a fabulous beast that disappeared in the daylight and then find that there is a description of just such a creature.
It's a strange coincidence.
Perhaps there's not a mythical creature out to take revenge, but perhaps there is a person with such motives. I wonder if the Hayrites have angered anybody recently or in the past who would want to do them harm. So while waiting for the translation, I might dig back through some newspapers and look for Hayrites or John Burton mentioned in anything.
Well, you go back
from
far enough, and you do find advertisements for Hayrites jewelry. Obviously, you find a reference to the wedding of Valerie Haywright and John Burton a few years ago. You also find an obituary when Avery Haywright passed away. You also find Valerie's name on a number of town committees and clubs and things around town. But other than that, nothing really substantial.
Well, our boys in blue might not have entered the house if nobody was there, but I wonder if it would be worth us paying a visit to the good old Burton residence.
I'm curious. I agree with you, Alfred. I think that's wise. I'm curious why a man dealing in jewelry would go all the way to Eastern Russia, which we know is a center for trade. I'm wondering if he doesn't have some other kind of business under the table that's not well known.
I mean, this document, until we have what else, I don't have much else to go on, but that little excerpt that he had written down was about jewelry.
Oh, that's
that
right.
had the Sons of Velas. So he was interested in some Russian jewelry, perhaps old historical
That's fair.
pieces that are related to this. Why, I don't know. Perhaps they're worth a lot.
Just to travel all that way.
Means that it was important to him.
I guess so.
Whether or not it's rational that it was important to him is another matter, but it was important enough for him to go.
That's fair.
The implication of this text is that there aren't any more of these jewels. They faded with Velas, so that would make them quite rare and valuable potentially.
Yes, to find one would certainly cement your place.
It's true.
For sure, selling it to a museum.
And you didn't know them well enough to have an impression of whether theirs was a love match or a more convenient sort of marriage?
I did not know them well enough, but I mean, we could hazard a guess.
How old is there a large age difference between the two of them?
Not really.
No.
What do the Burtons do? The Hayrites had the jewelry business, but is Burton another big name around here?
Not particularly. he has, I mean, the Burtons have some, access to money, but not like the Haywrights did. So he married into that.
Mm-hmm.
He certainly got the better of the arrangement financially speaking.
Alfred, you can also do an idea roll.
01.
01.
Full of
That's
ideas.
really good. You think back a couple of years, and there was a party that you attended. And as you think about it, you're pretty sure they were there. Of course, they're the Burtons, not the Haywrights. She seemed a bit common, like she really wanted to be amongst the aristocracy, but she didn't really have the breeding for it. She was from a merchant family. He, on the other hand, was from a better family, but he seemed kind of mealy. I mean, just sort of the kind of person who never gets ahead because he's just loser. He has the name, but he doesn't have the gumption. She has the money, but she doesn't have the breeding, so to speak. She also seemed a little loud and pushy.
Well, the two high society misfits found each other, it seems. So I'll share that little anecdote with my fellows.
So not exactly a love match, but in some ways a meeting of equals. Just
it's convenient. Yeah.
Before we visit the Burton home, I'd like. Is there anything in the card catalog regarding this deity Veles? Doesn't direct us back to Darkness of the North.
Yeah, go. You check through looking for other things on Veles, and you do find some more information.
Veles or Volos. Veles and Perun are two deities found in the religion of the Slavs prior to the coming of Christianity. The pre-Christian Slavs were polytheists and worshipped a pantheon of deities, just like the ancient Greeks and Romans. Compared to the Greeks and Romans, however, the deities in the religion of the pre-Christian Slavs are generally less well known. Some Slavic deities, apart from Veles and Perun, include Dabog, regarded as the progenitor of the Slavs, Stribog, a god whose grandchildren are said to be all of the winds, and Morana, the goddess of winter. Among these gods, only Veles and Perun were commonly respected and worshipped by all the Slavic tribes. Veles, spelt also as Volos, was a forest god who appeared most often as a bear, although he is thought to be capable of shape-shifting into other types of animals as well. One possible explanation for the representation of Veles as a bear is that this animal was regarded as the king of the animals. However, in the belief system of the southern Slavs, Veles was regarded as the lord of all wolves and was seen as a wolf god. He has also appeared as a great serpent, a disguise he used to hide from his enemy, Perun. Perun, for all intents and purposes, is the god of thunder and lightning. He is also a god of light who resides at the crown of the world tree. According to the myth, Veles abducted Perun's wife and children and took them down into the roots of the world tree, the underworld. Enraged, Perun chased him, hurling lightning bolts. Veles transformed into a serpent and went in and out of the earth in order to hide. It is said, any time a lightning bolt hits the earth, it is a place where Veles chose to hide. Perun is often said to represent order, while Veles represents chaos. Veles has been associated with other deities, such as Loki, in Romantov's Darkness of the North, and Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, in Von Junst unersprechlichen Kulten.
And there are a number of illustrations of Veles.
That symbol was at the top of that page. I say, the Darkness of the North book suggested that he was a sort of likable entity, but these images, I mean, maybe if I were a Slav, I wouldn't find them alarming.
Well, that was what the text said, right? That they're chaos and death, but the Slavs don't find them to be frightening.
Perun, can we find anything else on this Perun fellow at the top of the tree?
That's pretty much all I have. You
Can
probably
we find
can.
a reference to...
These are actually real.
I want to know more about Dabog. Do you have something about Dabog or Streamog?
I have nothing about Dabog.
Who's this Nyarlathotep character I see here?
I'm assuming that Von Junst Unersprechlichen Kulten is in the reserve section.
Yes, it's in the restricted area.
Restricted area. So we'll probably leave that to you, Morrison.
Well, I'll go ask. You stay here.
The only way to get into the restricted area is to talk to Professor Armitage, and he's not here today.
He's not in Eastern Russia, is he?
No, he's just at home. He's out fighting evil. Somewhere.
And that's what he puts on his desk. It's not out fishing. It's
out fighting evil.
Meanwhile, would you look what this little Nemo's gotten up to? What a scamp.
All right, so after a while, you guys probably head on back over to the languages department. And Professor Kokolov, he's busy writing down the translation. He says, my friends, very, very interesting. This seems to be part of a journal that was kept by a number of soldiers during one of the conflicts, I believe. Here, let me show you the translation I have.
Do you have a better idea of how old it is?
I'd say it's 15th century, most likely. I haven't identified exactly which conflict they're referring to, but here you go.
And translation of old Sabanic text from the 15th century, perhaps. And as night fell, we could hear it coming, son of Veles, the avenger of the dead. Its arrival proved only that one of us was the killer of the Cossack's girl. This was the proof. If the god beast came, then we could not deny that one of us had gone back and had killed her. Revenge for the deaths of our own children. It came like lightning to the house, sundering apart the braced door, its eyes like glowing pools of chaos. It searched for the killer. Jacques. Why did he do it? And yet, for all his begging, it did not go as it did no good as the monster ripped him in half. Nor did we stop him. No, for none desired to be taken as well. But then it turned on Dmitri and Varisi. Why, oh why, it seemed that all those who witnessed it became souls it desired. No witnesses were allowed. And then it was my turn. Unable to stop the beast, I was to be broken. I awoke at dawn a week later only to discover that the Cossacks had found my shattered body and saved my life. Yet, although I healed in time, it took me seasons to walk, forever cursed, never to forget the son of Veles, ever.
You know, it's interesting. Well, I'll let's finish up our conversation with the professor, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
Well, this is remarkable. Are you sure that you don't want anything for this work?
No, but I would request that you place this in a museum. It's a very interesting and valuable piece.
I'll certainly take that under consideration.
If you have it in a private collection, make sure that it is, in a climate-controlled environment so that it does not deteriorate. It's very interesting. I wish there was more. You don't know if there's more of the situation of the journal.
Well, if you think it's 15th century, I suppose a good place to start looking is the conflicts in 15th century Russia, I would guess.
Indeed.
The name Jacques seems unusual
Yes, a
for a
French name.
Slav.
It would seem a French name.
And then the other one was like Dmitri, and what was the...
Varies?
Oh, yeah.
Varies?
Perhaps a Varese. I don't know. I don't think that it's Russian, but
Yeah, it has a bit of a French cast to it as well, and
very odd.
Dmitri is spelled so strangely.
And there was a document, I mean, this wouldn't be during the Napoleonic Wars or invasion.
Too early.
Document
No, I
itself
think it's
is-
too much
No,
too
not
early
15th,
for that.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
15th century.
Yeah, but just that's going about the age of the... Yeah.
And Professor, the Cossacks, they're a people native to Russia, but not the dominant people of Russia. I know, again, it's a
ethnic
vast
group,
place.
or-
I'm not sure that it's not referring to the Cossacks as soldiers. It would seem that these men were soldiers.
But
and
a
they had
Cossack
committed
girl?
some sort of, oh yes, it's a Cossack girl, doesn't it?
Well, they had killed, it sounded
Must
like
be
they
a
had killed
people.
one of their own people. They was implied anyway.
Once
Well,
again,
the
we have
Cossacks
this.
drifting back to health, so
We have this reference to the son of Velez, same as in the other note.
Mhm, mhm.
So there's definitely a theme here. Very interesting. Did you find the Kokolov book? I'm sorry, the Romantov book.
You
Yes,
have
we
to read
did.
your own
Thank you for-
textbook, but
Thank you for pointing us in that direction.
Mm.
We were able to find that.
Well, it sounds very interesting. If you have any more interesting things to translate, I would be quite happy.
Thank you
do
very
it for
much.
you.
certainly keep
appreciate
that in
it.
mind. Thank you so much.
You're
if we
welcome.
can convince Alfred's friend to part with this document, we'll have you find the location for its safekeeping.
Oh, that would be amazing. Thank you.
And you.
That's
All
what I-
right. That's Vidania. So I'd like a light meal and one stiff drink before we go breaking and entering.
I agree.
That seems logical enough. But Dr. Blackwell, you might have a wolf friend come visit you again. No witnesses and the like. You might need
It's
to,
interesting. I guess when you try to make connections, you start seeing coincidences and things like that. But Valerie's body was quite broken, and they mentioned that in this diary entry too, that it was like the surviving man was broken. His body was a broken body. I know. I'm making connections where they don't necessarily belong.
I guess he was spared the fire treatment.
Yes. Hey, let's go have some lunch and maybe a drink.
But do you have a mirrors in your home? Bow and arrow, perhaps?
You're hilarious, Alfred. I do not have a bow and arrow, but I do have some mirrors.
Well, I know a great place for lunch. It's an Italian place. The name escapes me, though, but I know where it is.
Maestros.
Maestros?
Everybody loves maestros.
Maestros. Yeah, we'll go to
Well,
Maestros.
lead the way.
Okay. Now, you went back to the shop around noon, though, didn't you?
Yeah, it's not
morning,
lunch.
yeah.
It's got to be like going on
It's
later in the afternoon.
early 20th century supper. So
All
it's
right.
like
Yeah.
So I'd say you spent at least 3 hours at
Mhm.
the university. So it's about, we'll say it's 3 p.m. Just a few hours before dark.
There's
you
a
have-
mirror here, if we take our time, we'll just...
right. You want to Italian places that have a lot of mirrors.
I'm no good with a bow and arrow.
All right. You manage to, you're sitting out. See, let's do a luck roll. Everybody do a luck roll.
Ooh, that's a 17. Yes.
43's pass.
36 is a pass.
It's a hard success for me.
So you guys are all sitting there eating your meatball subs. And you look over and you see the police chief come in to get a meatball sub.
Hide that document.
Yeah, you've got the documents tucked away.
No, see, I have a really valuable, probably should be climate control document as like my, across my lap in case anything spills.
Hold it up and stuck it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
He comes in and he sits down to eat a sandwich. Do you guys want to do anything or say anything or pull out a gun and shoot him for no apparent reason whatsoever?
Well, I mean, he's walking. Does he know where he's eating? I have some suspicions about the police chief's connection to this place. That's okay.
They turn their eyes the other way.
Yeah, I'll, cup, my coffee cup that's not filled with coffee, and I'll go over there.
Oh, okay.
Say, fancy seeing you here. You have an excellent taste in restaurants.
Oh, the boys like maestros. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. It's just been a very interesting day, given what happened. Just wanted to see if you managed to find any more information about the poor soul who perished.
Well, it was definitely Mrs. Burton. Turns out Mr. Burton was actually on his way home from a small business trip. He arrived around 11:30. We managed to contact him. He was, as you can guess, shocked and horrified. We brought him down and had him identify the body. He was quite broken up about it. And we took him back to his home. He told us that she tended to go down to the shop a few hours before it opened to make sure everything was cleaned up and ready to go. He had not noticed any oddities with the gas line, but he can't think of anything that would have explained the situation.
Yes, well, might go have to pay him a visit. Certainly nothing. Shouldn't feel guilty about his absence. There was nothing anybody could have done. It was just so sudden. But thank you for telling me.
Well, it looks like it's gotten around town now, so take it easy on him. He might be a little overwhelmed by people leaving stuff. Condolences, it is.
I'll definitely stop by and then make a judgment call, but that's very wise. Don't want to make it worse. We want to make things better as much as we can, anyway, given the circumstances. But enjoy your meatball sub.
Thank you. You have a nice day. And he pulls out a gun and shoots you. No.
Oh, of course he did. I should have seen this coming.
Because it's random.
It was you dropped hints. It's my, back when we first saw him at the scene and he pointed the gun right at me and said, if I see you again, I'll shoot you. I should have taken the hint, but I did not.
People in Arkham are always shooting each other for fun. It's Arkham.
It is renowned, it's a renowned pastime.
All right, so he finished. I mean, he's sitting there eating his sub as you return to your table.
So, we won't be exploring the household in solitude. I'm a little disappointed about that. I don't get to use my lockpicking skills on the sly as much as I'd like.
And are we going to go bother a recently widowed man?
Well,
Several hours after he learns of his wife's death.
Well, let's look at it this way, Dr. Blackwell. Let's say that you're going to be visited by a very special visitor tonight. Wouldn't you want to know everything that you can
That's
about
true.
it? If he knew something, he had these documents. So if he had given his wife a necklace as a gift that was supposedly linked to these things, perhaps he, the legends are true and he might know something else that we don't.
We can't very well go and ask him about Velas and Vladivostok.
Well, then how do we approach him?
That's the problem. We only know where he's been because we pilfered.
True.
From a table, just a short distance from where you are, an older gentleman turns around and he looks at you and he says, I doubt seriously that he gave her a necklace.
Oh, and how is that?
Well, they weren't exactly a happy couple.
Oh, you don't say.
And he puts out his hand to shake yours and he says, Lawrence Cabot.
Lawrence
Since
Cabot, Alfred Morrison.
He points to the younger kid, like an 18-year-old kid sitting there with him. And he says, it's Carl West. We worked at the jewelry shop. And he says, I've worked there most of my life. I worked there when Avery Haywright was in charge of everything. John married into the family hoping to inherit all the money. I imagine they were in love in the beginning, but they were looking for different things. He wanted the money and the control, and she wanted prestige. And unfortunately, they both came up against Avery Haywright, who was a bastard of a man, controlling, draconian rules for everything. He used to send John on wild trips around the world looking for the cheapest ass jewelry that he could find. It was not a match made in heaven, and I doubt seriously that John was interested in buying her jewelry.
How long ago did old Avery give you all a break and pass on?
Died a couple of years ago, but believe me, there wasn't much of a break. I think that's what John was hoping too, is that once he died, he'd have more control, but no. Valerie turned out to be just as bad as he was.
Well, somebody has to send somebody else to buy cheap jewelry,
At that point, Carl, the younger kid, speaks up and he says, I like John. He says, John's actually trying to teach me the business so that I understand how things work. But Mrs. Burton is...
Piece of work.
Yeah, they have screaming matches.
Oof. Do you know anything about John's most recent business trip?
I think he went to New York for a while, but he came back from that a week ago or so.
A week ago.
Mm.
Oh,
where's he been?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Sure,
I don't know. They have fights, and when they have fights, he
goes off,
drives off angrily, and
So-
comes back later.
They really could have used a little stint in Nevada, or at least John could have.
Where the hell is Nevada?
Nevada, it's a state.
Guess I should have paid more attention in school.
Yeah, but I've heard from others that you spend some time there and they'll let you get a divorce even if you're from out of state. You gotta, take a vacation, spend a little bit of time, a few weeks,
But
I think.
The older fellow, Lawrence, he says, yeah, they would never get a divorce
Well, what does
because
Valerie stand to gain from this?
he'd lose all of his possible. Oh, you mean from the explosion? I can't think of anything. The business was actually doing pretty good.
No, what did Valerie gain from this marriage? Doesn't seem
Well,
like she got much out of it.
I don't think she got much. She wanted the prestige. She wanted to go to parties. She wanted to belong to all of the committees, and she wanted to have her fingers in all of the social stuff going on. But Mr. Bolton, just keep calling him Bolton, Mr. Burton, it just wasn't his thing. But she badgered him constantly about it. I don't think there was any pleasing that woman. We fortunately were just employees, but we managed to.
Well, and you were
get shit
just had
done.
the common sense not to go into work too early, eh? Well, seeing that you boys are out of work at the minute, at least let me buy you a supper.
It's okay. We've already paid for it, but thank you. We'll find something. We'll just have to go work for Martinez across the town.
Do you think that John will rebuild? I mean, I'm sure he was insured.
I don't know. I'm not so sure that he was really that into the business. God knows the old man forced him to do all sorts of things for the business, but
Was Haywright the old family name, or did they change it like a lot of people do when they come to the States?
I have no idea. Hayright's as long as I remember.
Well,
You ask other people in town, they'll tell you the same thing. They were a wild couple.
Well, if you do end up having problems finding a new line of work, give me a call. I got connections.
I'm just worried about what'll happen to the house staff. Betty King, the cook.
You don't think John will keep him around?
I don't know. It depends. I think that if he can get out of the business and take the money with him, he'll do it.
But Betty King, you said?
Betty King.
Anyone else in the staff?
Argus Waitley, he's the gardener. And he sees Randall make that face and he says, no, from the unsullied Waitleys, not the degenerate ones.
It's a fine distinction in this town, after all.
Not from Dunwich Ways.
No.
Well, you have a lovely afternoon.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen. This was a
Pleasure meeting
enlightening
you.
conversation.
Our pleasure. I just don't know what we're going to do tomorrow.
It'll be spring soon. You'll have some time for yourself. And there's going to have to be a jeweler. So yeah, if Martinez doesn't hire you, maybe somebody else will have set something up.
Find something. All right. So after your lunch, what would you guys like to do? Say it's
After we
3:30.
leave, be like, so I have this story in my head. You might think it's ridiculous, probably because it is ridiculous, but it is like, it humors me so much. So imagine, you're being sent all over the world, traveling, very cheap accommodations. You're being pushed by these families, and you hear a rumor of a necklace that if you give it to somebody, they die. So what if Bolton gave her a necklace out of the blue or left it around in hopes that it killed her, and then it does, and now he doesn't know what to do? Wouldn't that be something?
Seems
Well-
an interesting thought.
In terms of approaching this matter rationally, if Burton told the police that he got back from a trip at 11:30 this morning, or was it last night? We have to verify that. But the employees say he's been back from New York for a week. Then he's lying about his whereabouts, perhaps, and we can simplify the matter of the mystical amulet and
Yeah,
just
see,
call it a murder.
Yeah, he knew something was going to happen,
Mhm.
and didn't want to be around for it.
Hmm. So then how do we approach this? How do we approach him?
Well, maybe I reverse my previous course. We don't have to wave any vellum around to say to him that the son of Veles is looking for witnesses and see how he responds.
Okay.
That's if we want to sort of set fire to everything and find out what's
Right.
That's the Macbeth option. Show
Well-
him that we know he's a murderer and see how he responds.
Alfred seems to think I'm in some kind of grave danger if this continues unchecked. So
I mean, your current lack of a mirror on your possession right now concerns me greatly, given that
Oh,
the sun's
Alfred.
going down.
you just, I think it'll be okay. I don't believe in children's stories. I'm more interested in finding out what happened here. I think he orchestrated her murder somehow.
It's May. You still have about 4 hours before the sun goes down.
Maybe he did some. Maybe he tampered with the gas line.
Yeah, I mean, that's the simplest thing. Presumably, he would have been carefully increasing the insurance before doing anything drastic.
Mm.
I mean, a jewelry store, I imagine, is pretty powerfully insured under the most normal circumstances.
It would be interesting to know if he's changed their policy sometime in the last couple of months.
If
he was a smart man, he would have done it several months ago, not very recently.
Oh, sadly, we didn't get the records. We only got the children's
It's true.
stories.
That's true.
Weird
Well,
stories, though.
It is weird. If children's stories are all we have to go on, though, maybe that is how we approach it, like Randall said. See how he reacts. If he believes it,
Well, yeah, as
Maybe
I
we'll
said,
find
if
some
he
information.
gave her a necklace with the intent that it would do her harm, but if it actually killed her,
Right.
Well-
And actually, regardless of his most recent... Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what he'd be guilty of if he only thought he did it, but given that he was traveling in the wilds of Russia months ago, that's an opportunity for him to pick up an odd item and present
Mhm.
it to her, something that she would perceive as valuable. I don't know how you trigger the action of one of these dark suns.
Alfred, when was the last time there was a society event in town?
oh,
Probably May Day.
yeah.
I was
Maybe.
wondering if maybe she showed up with this fine pendant in some attempt to, show off and maybe.
I mean, people, there are events all the time. I can't attend all of them. Sometimes they happen simultaneously. You get families that don't like each other, and so they
Sure.
have their little spitting match by hosting on the same night.
I was more thinking, I wonder if anyone had noticed it. If she had shown up to a society event, surely if there's some fine necklace that her husband brought from halfway across the world, maybe she would have shown it off. Let me
Well,
tell you about this
certainly,
new beautiful thing.
Took the employees by surprise.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe she took it from the safe and she was just wearing it for herself. Maybe he didn't even give it to her.
That would be ironic if he got rid of her without even actively cursing her with the thing. At this hour, the gardener will probably be at home, whereas the maid will probably be in the residence.
She's a cook.
Cook, sorry. Yeah, so certainly the cook will be at work. But the gardener will probably be at his home. Maybe we should ask him if she's shown up with any new gewgaws in the last period. And
Okay.
get more gossip.
Yeah, more information. More likely to get that from the help than directly from the source. Okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And probably hard to separate the cook from the kitchen or her employer if we just drop in and say, hello, we are civilians who would like to interview you separately. Because we are busybodies, and my friend the doctor saw a magical wolf bear that can also be a snake.
Well, you know, he seems to respond well to being pushed around, so that might go well.
That's true. So where should we start with the gardener then? Maybe then if go from there.
The only thing with the gardener is we'll have to look up where he lives.
Will he have a telephone? Or will he be on a cottage on the property? I don't know. How fancy do they live?
They're not the wealthiest.
I wouldn't
folks
think that would be
about.
that fancy. Yeah.
Yeah, a cottage on property is pretty serious.
That's like an estate. I don't think they were that wealthy.
Yeah, there aren't really any big estates.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
I could
if
call
he's
up a
in the
few
phone
friends.
book.
Yes, if he's not in the book, I could contact a few friends of mine. I mean, you can only spend so much time in one person's garden. He might work for somebody else that I know.
It's true. Well, let's start with the phone book, and if not, then you can ask around. So we'll look in the book for Argus Whately.
All right. Who wants to do a luck roll? Morgan can
On a
do
scale,
luck
if I was going to judge how lucky I feel at the minute, on a scale from, let's just say, 1 to 100, I'm about 50.
Interesting. I feel
about midway. Yeah.
I feel like I too have very average luck, although I feel as the things I've tried to do lately have often not gone well,
That's true.
with occasional exceptions.
Go on,
All right.
then, Morgan. You make the luck roll.
All right. Morgan, I don't know who that is. 14. I am feeling lucky, though.
Okay, 14's lucky. You do find a residence with a number of Arguses, including a number of Whateleys, including an A Whately.
We have A Whately Decayed and A Whately Undecayed. I think we need to go with the Undecayed option here.
Good idea.
That's who gets the phone. You look so Wrong one.
Somebody picked up the other end of the phone and it just sounded like a bunch of horses stomping around.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with that, but very, very strange.
I thought he was saying yeah, but he was saying yeah. All right.
He asked me if I had any cattle to sell him. Very weird interaction. I don't know what's the deal.
After a couple of rings, the phone answers, and a young woman answers the phone. And she says, hello.
Hi. This is Alfred Morrison. I'm calling after one Argus Whately. I understand that he's a gardener.
Well, that's my father. Yeah. You want to talk to him? Hold on. And after a couple of seconds, this is Argus.
Hello. My name is Alfred Morrison. I don't believe that we've met, but I know your employers, the Burtons,
Yes.
have had a recent tragedy, and I've just been calling around giving my condolences to.
Recent tragedy?
Have you not heard of the fire?
Oh, dear God. Did their house burn down?
Not their house. Their store. He writes jewelry.
Oh.
Burned down this morning.
Oh, that's a shame. Was anybody injured?
Yes. Valerie has passed.
Mrs. She's dead. That's awful.
Yes, we heard she was quite the woman.
Well,
Very commanding presence.
she certainly had her way of doing things. I dealt with her almost exclusively. She did like her garden. That's an awful shame that she passed away.
Yeah, just
They think that somebody might have stolen some jewelry from her.
yeah, there was a
necklace.
yeah. You gotta warm up the thing. So
Yeah, warm me up.
there's a hey Arcus, how you doing? Doing well tonight.
Farm life gets really lonely. And we've only got so many sheep.
There's been a bit of something that you might be able to help us with. When the authorities found her body, there was remnants of a necklace that seemed to have been taken from her. Did she wear a pendant of sorts?
Well, they had a jewelry store. She wore a lot of jewelry a lot of times. Sure.
Anything in particular that comes to mind that
I don't know. I don't really pay that close of attention,
Oh,
but she's always well dressed. Bit of a temper, but not directed at me.
All right. Well, again, I'm sorry to. I guess I don't know how close you were, but.
How about her husband? Is he? She died. He didn't.
Yeah, he wasn't there. He was away.
Well, he did go on business trips. I dealt mostly with her. I almost never dealt with him.
Do you know where he went last? They were having trouble finding him. Is he
like I say, I really have no idea. She told me what she needed done, and I did it, and I didn't really interact. He didn't seem like a very talkative fellow.
All right. Well, yes. Thanks for having this little conversation. I appreciate it.
There was one incident where, see, they did fight quite a bit.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. I had to do some repair work on part of the garden because I was working in the garden. They had a big old fight. He came out and tore all of her rose bushes out of the ground. Drove off, didn't show up till the next day. So they're not exactly the happiest couple.
It's like quite the row. Did he? Should he try to smooth things over after that, or?
Not that I recall. They seem to have that kind of a relationship. They're always fighting over money.
Well, there's few things other than that to fight about in this world.
Well, thank you for calling me and telling me. That's a horrible, horrible shame. I'll send my condolences.
Yes. Very sad day indeed. Well, hopefully you can make the most of it. Take care.
I wonder if they were having money troubles. Everyone we've talked to seems to mention that she wants wealth and prestige, and maybe she was spending more money than she should have or something.
It was said the business was good, though.
That's true.
Just to clarify that,
But
she wants prestige, he wants the money.
right.
She already had money.
Yeah.
But you can have a business doing well, but if you're spending more than you're bringing in, regardless, if she is obsessed with a lavish lifestyle, she could be spending all
Well,
that
she
money.
certainly attended a lot of lavish events. She never hosted one. If she was going to be the type that would recklessly do such a thing, she would be hosting herself.
Buy your way into a little society.
That's definitely a way to attract friends. In my neck of the woods is to host, but it's never cheap.
You mentioned buy her way into society. There, you kind of think there might have been a little of that, but she didn't do it very well, and so society kind of was like,
yeah, she was never, as I said, I'm more acquainted with them because they were never always on the outside looking in. Definitely the desire was there, but the execution was poor. Nobody was willing to assist her make her way in that world. I certainly wasn't, and just always muddling about in the wrong ways.
Right.
All the money in the world doesn't do you any good if you spend it wrong. But if you spent wrong too much,
you can't exactly buy grace or graciousness.
But you can buy stones that lead you to a peaceful afterlife if the children's stories are true. Or yes, you can't buy them. They don't. The spirits don't take kindly to that sort of thing.
Well, are we going to intrude on the bereaved?
Doesn't sound like he'd be much bereaved anyway, but
no.
I'd be interested to hear what he thinks of it all.
The chief described him as shocked and horrified.
True.
I mean, how much of that is genuine, it's hard to tell unless we get a look at him ourselves.
Well, yes, there's also the question of whether he had an intention or whether this is an inadvertent outcome of some...
He always wanted money, and he was not in control of that money. But now that she's gone, he can actually enjoy it for once. Because what's all the... your money doesn't do you any... The lifestyle he wanted to lead, he couldn't because he was always away.
Right. What if, so this whole thing, we've heard more than once that he wouldn't have been the type to buy her jewelry. Maybe he bought this necklace intending to make a large profit from it. It's rare. It's from another country. There's legend to it. She sees it, likes the prestige it might afford her and wears it. And then this event happens and it is a shock to him because maybe he thought they were children's tales or didn't even realize the tale itself.
Right, it was part of his research to track down a seller or something. And maybe her wearing it, that could have caused some tension. You buy the find of your life.
Maybe that's why she was in the shop early.
Wear it. It could be damaged wearing it around or stolen. Then that's no good.
Well, only one person would know the answer to these questions. Whether or not he'll give them to us is another matter entirely. But worst thing you can do is ask us to leave.
Should we visit a florist or something?
A florist and then my wine cellar, I think, would be.
Excellent ideas.
Okay. So you go to Azathoth Florist and you get a lovely bouquet of insane
flowers appropriate.
Whatever's appropriate for morning.
Irises, right?
Lilies.
Whatever.
Lilies, right.
Red roses. Completely appropriate.
And fine bottle of wine.
Some kind of alcohol.
Yes.
Tequila.
To help you forget.
1924. Is it prohibition?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you probably have
personal
stockpiles.
shares. Yeah.
It's prohibition for all the people who are too poor.
Exactly.
For the lower classes.
For the rabble.
Well, that's why you chose Italian, right? Because they were likely to have wine cellars.
Yeah, it's look, Maestro's has what you want if you know the right words.
Well, and it's interesting that wine was not completely included on that because
Not
Catholic
religious
Church.
wine.
Catholic Church needs their wine for church.
Yeah.
Well, let's pay a visit to the grieving.
All right. So you drive into Uptown. You head over to the Haywright
Burton.
estate. Not much of an estate. It's a big 2-story house. The garden looks nice. It's well maintained. And as you pull your car up into the front, you can see that there are quite a few things on the front porch. But the car is not there.
Interesting.
And things like a Victrola.
No, like bouquets
Packages?
of flowers
Oh, okay.
and things like that.
People doing the same damn thing we are.
Well, Randall, you may get to exercise your skills after all.
Yeah, maybe we should see if the staff
You should try to
entrance-
knock first, sure.
Yeah. Let's stick the bottle in the bouquet in an attractive looking way so that it doesn't stand out to passersby, and get a nice position among the other objects on the porch and ring the doorbell.
Okay. You can see that there are quite a few other packages there. Not packages, flowers, but there are some notes. One of the notes, just at a glance, says, sorry.
Signed the degenerate Whateleys.
No, interestingly enough, what you see in one case is a note that says, Valerie, John, have just heard about the fire. Hope all is well and safe. Eric and Melissa. So they don't all know that Valerie is dead.
They didn't hear the sad news.
They know there was a fire.
Has anybody else left wine about?
No, mostly
Flowers.
either notes or some flowers. But they all seem to be, well, you're not going through them all, but the couple that a couple of them just seem to be like, you heard about the fire, hope you didn't lose everything.
Alfred, do the names Eric and Melissa mean anything to you? Is there a couple in town?
Vaguely, but I mean, there's lots of them, so I don't know which one specifically.
But the general cast is mourning. It's just some people don't seem to know that there's a person being mourned.
Well, I'd say the general cast is condolences that their business was destroyed.
So there
More
might
of a
not be a
raised-
lot of lilies. There might be a lot of white roses or something that
Right.
don't signify death. Okay.
Hmm.
And lights on in the front of the building?
No, it's dark. in
No
the
one's
house.
answered the door.
Nobody's answered the door.
What's the state of the garden? Is it garden?
It's in pretty good condition. It's well maintained.
The rose bushes have been restored to their former.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take the
So,
knocker and
well, service entrance. I mean,
Yeah.
there's going to be a servant's. There's going to be a back door for the cook and where the milkman leaves the milk and that sort of thing. So let's get. I wonder if we all should go and give that a rap, or whether I'll go with some song and dance and pick the lock if it isn't answered and let you in the front. Because this place is. These locks are not jewelry store locks.
I like that thinking, Randall.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Well, you guys have been standing there long enough that you notice next door on the right-hand side, um, an older woman looks through her kitchen window, and her front door opens, and she comes out and says, "Oh, you must be leaving some gifts or something. I heard there was a terrible fire."
Yes.
And she says, I'm Julia McTighe.
Julia.
She looks like she's in her early 70s, maybe.
Well, Julia, I wish we could meet under happier circumstances.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
terrible
terrible
shame.
their business burning
poor
like
Valerie,
that.
too.
Poor Valerie.
What do you mean? Is Valerie?
She passed away in the fire.
Oh, dear God. Oh,
A
no.
terrible shame. We were hoping to offer condolences
That
to John.
explains why there's so many. I didn't realize. I thought they just lost the business. They
By the time they printed today's newspaper before they could identify her, so I can see why it wasn't mentioned.
Oh. Well, poor Mr. Burton.
So he seems to be away, for better or worse.
No, I did see him earlier, about 1 o'clock, get in his car and drive off. I assumed he may have been upset about the business. I didn't see her, so you say she passed away. It's very sad. They didn't have a very good marriage, you know.
Even so, the shock must be something.
Yes, she took after her father. She was, and her mother, quite. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, of course.
A big personality.
Yes, I will say a big personality. You don't live next to somebody for as long as I have, and not hear through their rather thin walls, their various fights and so forth. They've been having trouble ever since they got married, and of course I knew Avery really well. He was a rather hard man. He told me that he had no intention of leaving John one penny. And it was all going to go into her name.
Did you when you saw John drive off, did he send Betty home? Or do you think she's slaving away at some dinner and he's
Oh,
not
no,
gonna
I
even show
don't.
back?
I think he would have told her to just go ahead and stay home. Yes, I haven't seen her this evening. I'm sure he got a hold of her. My goodness. How did she die?
Fire. I mean, she was there.
Fire, yeah. She was at the store. We've been told that she would often go to the store first thing in the morning.
Did they have 2 cars?
No, just the one. There's I don't know, maybe it's nothing. Something from a week ago. I'm sure it's nothing, but just a moment, she says. And she turns around and she goes back into her house. So she's gone. Do you guys want to say anything to anything for the moments while she's gone?
Did she say just a moment, like she's coming back, or
like she was coming back?
So it would be weird if one of us was suddenly missing.
Yeah, we might have to come back later, Randall.
Later, or I don't know. Could offer to have dinner with her, and I could chat about things, and you two.
The neighbor thing goes both ways.
That's true.
She seems to know something.
She comes back, and you can see she's holding a piece of paper in her hand. It's brownish. It's water damaged. It was obviously at some point all crumpled up. And she says, I think this might be important, but I don't want you to think bad of the man. He was a good man, maybe a bit foolish, but I found this about a week ago. It was in my garden. I think he may have dropped it and it blew in. I thought it was just a piece of garbage. But curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up and read it. And I thought that I didn't want to just throw it away, though I should have. Here, take a look at this.
I don't think you should have it all. Huh. Joanne, I am never to be free of the legacy of my father-in-law. His name hangs above my door as an ever-present omen of failures. If only I could break her hold on the money, I would leave at once and come to you in New York. But there seems little chance of that. She is much worse than her father ever was. My Joanne, I love you so much, and it is with a sad heart that I had to give her the beautiful Russian necklace I discovered. She found it in my luggage on my return. Christ, it's not even a man's own portage sacred. I have to rid myself of her once and for all and gain that damned inheritance for myself. Then I can give you the life you deserve. John.
You don't think...
No. You, like you say, I think he's a good man. I think it's just a terrible accident. Police think it was some kind of gas.
He didn't send it, if he crumpled it up.
Exactly, yes. He threw the letter away.
Mrs. McTighe, is it?
Yes.
It might be the right thing for you to tender this to the authorities in the off chance that this was a first draft of something that he finally sent to this other woman. But I don't think there's actually any reason to believe in any foul play. Still, it is sort of note. I'm stumped by this. Mr. Burton told the police that Valerie often went to the shop a few hours before it opened. But if they only had one vehicle, I don't know how she would do that. Either she'd have the car and he'd be stranded, or...
Well, I don't know.
Do you keep early hours yourself?
Not really. When I get up to fix breakfast, they're usually gone.
Well, and he's away so much, as you've said. Perhaps it's, she usually has command of the vehicle.
So you found this crumpled up. Where was it crumpled up? In their yard?
Just over here in my yard, like it had blown in. I thought it was just a piece of trash.
I heard recently that some rose bushes got torn up. Was that around the same time?
No, that was maybe a month ago. They had quite the row. He's not, now you don't understand, don't think, she badgers him a great deal. And I think he had just had enough of it and tore up the roses and screamed and yelled at her and drove away in his car. But I don't think that he would ever do anything truly bad. You think I should give this to the authorities?
I think it would. That does seem like the right thing to do.
Well, I'll make sure I'll go out tomorrow and take it to the authorities.
Yes, they might have questions. I mean, we could also take it for you. We've been in touch with the chief of police. We happen to be a witness at the fire, you see. That's how
Oh, I see.
only Alfred is acquainted with the Burtons, but
Well, I don't like to go out too much. Would you mind?
Oh, it wouldn't be, it'd be no
course.
trouble.
All right, thank you. And she gives it to you. My, this is very, very upsetting.
It's terrible.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go.
Of course. We should be going as
we
well.
appreciate your time very much. Be well.
All right.
So it seems like he did not, in fact, know that. Maybe he knew the legends, but didn't believe in the legends.
No,
I mean, if he's going to give it to his mistress.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he had designs on Valerie's death, at least not in the immediate.
But then Mrs. McTighe saw him at 1 p.m., so it might be that the son of Velas, if it existed, would be chasing John down tonight and not you.
Well,
And they
what's
did have those
witnesses?
documents.
I mean, it's only if you see the thing, right? I mean, but that's just children's
Well,
stories. But
I
think
would
of-
remind you, gentlemen, that the account of the soldier, the son of Ellis killed them all, and that the survivor was only there by luck that he survived. But even the ones that hadn't witnessed, it seems like, if I remember correctly, even the ones that hadn't witnessed the original event.
The killing of the Cossack was not what was witnessed. What was witnessed was
the son.
son of Velas's revenge.
So if we're going to buy into this, we're all in danger.
But I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
But if he comes for me, and then you see him.
Well, when the sun goes down, I assure you, we'll be parting ways.
Oh, Alfred.
Or you need
Always
to find
a friend,
the mirror,
a dear
and I need to
friend,
go-
Alfred.
But-
John has presumably run off to his Joanne in New York City to tell her the good news. But
or
if he caused Valerie's death, then the son of Velas will be avenging her murder.
True.
right, but so what
And
if
that will be the first attack. Because the son of
But
Velas
he's-
was released when the trinket was destroyed.
So he wrote a letter that he misplaced or something about him wanting to kill his wife, and then he comes to find that his wife has died. That certainly doesn't look good for him. So he might have skipped town just on principle.
Right. I think, Randall, is your theory that he actually orchestrated the explosion and that the son of Ellis was released in this explosion? Is that what you were saying?
He turned on the gas main.
So
Sent her
he did
in.
the explosion purposefully, and then this is all now a chain of events. I think if we could get into this house, I don't know how we get around the nosy neighbor, but perhaps
I think she's
got the vapors after this exciting
that's
conversation.
true.
And we'll
Well,
certainly
maybe if you
circle
could
to the
sneak
opposite
around.
side of the house.
Yeah, but not all three of us. I think that would be quite obvious. But if you could sneak around, Randall.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on her fluttering window shades.
Good idea.
Yeah, I mean, either we're going to find that John's already been killed and he's inside the house.
Mm.
See, I thought he was having an affair with the cook, and I'm disappointed that he's got a hussy in New York called Joanne, because New York is an inconvenient drive.
And we don't
It's
know
like
her
a
last
4.5
name, so
hour
we could-
drive.
Yeah, and we couldn't. If only it were easy enough to give her a call, but don't know her name, her last name.
unless
or
we
number.
can find
A number
something
in
with
the house.
their number or address.
True.
In the house. All right, well, let's walk.
Let's do that then.
Let's chat amicably as we walk to the sidewalk, and then I'll slip into this hedge, go to the
Good
back
idea.
of the house, and see about getting in. And we'll just all know that Mrs. McTighe is on the lookout for more
we,
information to share.
Did we walk here, or did we take a?
We
vehicle?
drove.
You drove. You got your
Drove.
car
All right,
parked in front
Alfred.
of the
We
house.
might, for the sake of what it looks like, we might need to drive the car away.
Oh
just
yeah.
a little bit.
Why don't you just scoot down the block a little bit, and that'll give me time to find a
Good idea.
suitable point of entry.
Okay. Are you going to drive away, or are you going to drive down the block?
Down the way,
Okay.
just so it looks like we've left.
All right. Randall. How are you going to do? Sneak around to the back of the house?
Yeah, I'm going to go away from Mrs. McTie's place. I'm going to look for, cover from plant life. And if there is, I guess in order of preference, I would take a back service entrance and then a cellar window and then a first floor window. Which if one is not available, then I'll try the next.
Anybody questions why you're there, just say you're there to interview as a house servant.
Sure. I'll say that I was told that somebody was locked out of their home because I have this professional lockpick set that I'm entirely licensed to have.
All right. You go around to the back. There isn't really a service entrance, so to speak of. But the back door is simple, and it go ahead and do your lockpick to see if you can.
Oh, here you have a decent locksmith, and you still roll a 46, but I'll spend 6 points.
Okay. With very little difficulty, just a little difficulty, you manage to open up the lock on the back door and slip inside. You are going into the kitchen. In general, your first impression of the house, and there's still light outside, of course, because it's not dark yet. You still got an hour or so, maybe 2 hours left of light. Your first impression is that it's neat and clean. You can see into the front area of the house. You can see that apparently he got some flowers and packages when he arrived earlier. Mm-hmm. But there are also 3 suitcases that are sitting there next to the flowers inside the door.
So he drove off, but he planned to come back, but it's been a little while. All right. So on the non-McTie side of the house,
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna, part a curtain and light a lamp or something else that will indicate like that we're ready for action.
Right. Okay.
And then I guess I'll wait for them to come before I start exploring the house.
Oh, you're waiting for them to come back?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys see the window open a little bit and a light.
Mm. Well, Alfred, do you think we should go ahead and go back to the house? I see that Randall's lit the lamp.
We can see. It'll be fine.
Okay.
I know the people around here. It won't be that big a deal.
Let's go.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
You're returning to the house?
Yeah. Well.
All right. And I hustle you in through the kitchen door.
Excellent.
Yeah, he was planning to take off. He's got suitcases packed and ready.
Suitcases? Well, then where did he go?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna check the upstairs bedrooms and make sure the place is empty.
Yeah, let's
come back from. Are the suitcases like packed? Because they said that he recently got back from New York, which might have been true. He might have visited this Joanne and then came back, put his suitcases down, and then discovered that his wife had blown up and left.
So you want to search the suitcases?
Yes.
All right. It doesn't take you very long to realize that the suitcases are packed for leaving, not for coming back. Everything, all the clothes in them are clean.
And mail? They're not full of dresses?
No, they're just his clothes. I thought you meant the mail.
Well, why would you leave without this?
Yeah, where did he go? Where did he go? And then why didn't he just take his things to leave?
Well, maybe he went to go buy himself a large mirror, which you've been dallying about,
Alfred.
Dr. Blackwell.
My goodness.
Do an idea roll.
Both of
one
us
you
or
do
just
that. I guess.
A
Alfred.
26 is a hard success.
Okay. He tended to go for drives when he was upset.
It's true.
Oh, he could just be driving around.
I mean, it could be. It's an upsetting thing, even if he orchestrated her death. It's upsetting,
Well,
or at least it gives the illusion that he's upset to the nosy neighbors.
Or again, should what you saw, Dr. Blackwell, be true, and there is a big wolf that will come back and pay you a visit after the sun goes dark.
I will look for a mirror in the house, Alfred.
I'm just saying, if he believed that,
okay,
and the necklace he was intending to give to the woman he really loves,
well then I guess
would have resulted in her death. I mean, that's another layer of horror.
I'll go searching for a mirror, Alfred. I'll do that.
Oh, I'm not worried about your safety. I'm just saying, he has the shock of his wife died, and he has a shock that he almost could have, at least to his thinking, killed his mistress.
Right. Okay. That's true.
I would think that folder that had the 3 pages in it would have had English translations in it, unless one of them studied Russian, or they didn't know what was in them. But who knows? I mean, I only grabbed one folder.
Or maybe he got those. Maybe he had those documents as like an authenticity thing when he got the necklace in Russia.
Maybe
he had the documents were just part of the transaction.
Well, if he may be coming back, we don't want to be found here. So I'm gonna
let's be
hustle
quick
upstairs and see if there's anything of note.
All right. Upstairs, there are 4 bedrooms. But you are pretty sure from just looking that only the master bedroom seems lived in. The others are kind of they're guest rooms, so they're fairly clean, but they're kind of empty.
And there's a wardrobe that has her clothes in it, and
yes,
nothing of
his. There is. Well, there's some of his, but. Yes, a good portion of his are missing, and her clothes are all there. Do a spot hidden roll. While you're doing that, you're also finding jewelry box with jewelry in it, nice things, and there's a few art pieces on the wall, and it looks like they have some money at least. You know, they're not living in poverty in this big house. What'd you get?
I just made it 35 for 36.
You also find in a dresser drawer, you find a 32 caliber pistol and a box of 25 rounds. And there is a folded up license underneath it for the gun.
In his name?
In his name, yeah. Another one of the other rooms up there seems to be sort of a study workroom. It has a large desk. It's got a nice lamp on the desk so that there's good lighting. And you can see that there are a number of files. When you glance in them, they are tax files and business
insurance
files
papers
and things like that. Do a spot hidden.
That's better. That's a 17. Is that hard? Okay. Yes, just barely.
You do notice that there are a number of large life insurance policies on both Valerie and John, but they are from about a month ago. You also find some ledgers. Do you want to do an accounting roll, or does anybody have?
I have a little. Not that much though.
Okay.
Anybody on there good with numbers? He's totally got insurance on her.
I've looked at ledgers before. I'd never understood them, and turns out I still don't.
Oh, let me have
I don't know why they write all these numbers twice.
Ooh, you know what? I'll spin the luck. That's actually not far off. I'll spin the luck on that.
Okay. Everything you can see from the business is that they were doing really well. Business was booming in the last couple of months. All of their taxes and everything seemed to be in order. They actually had a quite strong financial position.
Oh, money was good.
All right, but he was not.
He wasn't happy.
He wasn't. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should beat a retreat since
I agree.
he should be on his way back.
Right.
And I wonder if we shouldn't stay for a while in the car and see if he does return, because I mean, there are two things. One is he packed bags, which couldn't make him look bad to the authorities if he just flees, if he leaves town. But he packed the bags anyway, but then he left for hours. So I wonder if he found himself in some misadventure.
Or it could be something as mundane as making funeral arrangements. Maybe he's just in town.
Perhaps, but this does give us an opportunity, of course, to find a bow and arrow or one of my prized hunting rifles back home.
So you've decided to stick around past sundown, Alfred.
Oh, I wouldn't miss to see this wolf man myself. It seems quite exciting. Would love to mount it on my wall.
And you must have some substantial mirrors in your home.
Oh, most certainly.
All I have is trick mirrors, and my shaving mirror, whatnot.
Well, it might be humorous to see the wolf as very skinny or very wide.
Randall, you're a stage magician. You're actually at home right now. It's all mirrors that make people think that you're actually.
It's a very elaborate setup. I'm in my living room.
Ooh, good job, Randall.
All right, so you guys are going to sneak back out to your car.
Yes, maybe wait, see if he comes back, but
okay.
In hiding.
You park just down the street.
Mm-hmm.
At about 6:15 p.m., he comes back. You see his car drive into the driveway next to his house. He parks the car. You see him get out. He looks a little frumpy, his suit's not exactly in perfect condition. But he's psychology.
Got a little bit.
Yes.
I also have just a bit.
I have a decent amount, actually. I brag and then I fail my roll.
An 06 is a hard success.
All right. As he gets out of his car and heads up towards the porch, Alfred, you get the distinct feeling that he is not walking like a man who is remorseful. He's walking like a man who is relieved.
Well, I'll approach him with the gifts I was planning to give him anyway.
I thought you were down the street in the car.
Oh, I will pull up conveniently now.
Okay.
With gifts in tow.
Without really noticing you, he steps up onto his porch. He annoyingly opens his door and grabs some of the things that have been left. And then he notices you parking your car and getting out. About all he gives you is kind of like this as he puts the stuff in the front, and then he turns around and he looks very sad. He says, so you've heard.
Yes. I was actually a witness of the fire.
You were a witness? I thought it was very early in the morning when it occurred.
Yes, well, I have a hobby of mine is exploring old places, and there's a place right across the street of the Corbin Hall.
Oh, yeah. Corbin Hall.
Yeah,
they have lectures there and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was there. It's pretty early in the morning, but
Well, you heard that
well,
my wife was killed in the fire.
yes, that is a. So very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. To be perfectly honest, I'm not much in the mood to. I can't offer you anything right now. I'm quite
Oh,
upset.
that's. I wasn't expecting you to.
Is there anything I
do
can do
that.
for you?
Well, there, excuse me, there might be something we can do for you, given that the sons of Veles are known to take vengeance upon those who are wrongfully killed.
I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
You're well, there was a note, crumpled up letter from you in your yard that well, it doesn't look too good for you.
The necklace you were going to give to Joanne.
And he sort of almost falls back. He's like, "Who are you?"
We are strangers who are trying to save you from a vengeful spirit. That
What do you know?
necklace.
What do you know about that necklace, John?
He just suddenly backs into his house and slams the door, and doesn't look. I mean, there's just sort of a moment of confusion and horror that crosses his face. But you don't hear him go away. And he's like,
well,
you hear him yell from inside the house. He goes, "Who are you people?"
We're interested in supernatural occurrences in New England, if you must know. That's why we were at the Corbin Hall, and just what happened at the jewelry shop was so odd that it piqued our curiosity. So we've been looking into it today, as we do, and we've been finding things out.
And you, come out, John.
My wife was killed at the jewelry store this morning.
Yes. How do you think that happened, John? What do you think made that explosion occur early this morning? John, come out and talk to us. The sun's fading.
You suddenly you can hear his footsteps rather quickly.
Oh, he's got a gun upstairs. Maybe we should not frighten him anymore. I might have pushed it. Sorry, I was trying to, pull a shadow nose kind of thing on him, but people shoot at the shadow all the time.
It was mighty clever. And people in Arkham are very jumpy, and they're prone to shooting things. I mean, they've almost gotten shot by the police chief at least twice today, so we should probably go.
Should we go, or do we want to try to talk him down?
Well, we should at least back up to the car.
Okay.
See what he does.
So,
okay.
Unless it doesn't sound like he went upstairs.
So you all feel a bit of a chill in the wind. And you realize that it's 7:00 and the light in the sky is just starting to drop and fade as the sun is hitting the horizon. And you all, Randall and Alfred, do spot hiddenness.
31 is a pass.
Thank heavens, I can't see anything today.
Okay. Well, Randall, you're looking at Alfred, and Alfred, you're looking at Dr. Blackwell, and she suddenly starts acting very strange.
What's wrong?
You don't hear that?
Hear what?
Just like a howling noise, but like far away. You don't hear that?
No.
Oh, it gives me the creeps.
A dog.
You guys don't hear any dog.
Siren?
You don't have a mirror on you, do you?
Fresh out. Maybe we should see about.
Well, let's go back to my residence.
Well, let's get in your car.
Yeah.
At least. John hasn't come back.
There it is again. Do you not hear that?
No.
It's like a wolf. It's like a wolf, and it's like howling at the moon.
Do you still have that flask on you, Alfred?
Always.
Doctor, maybe a little medicinal nip.
I didn't mean to scare you so much with my...
It's like it's coming closer, Randall.
Well, it's not coming for you.
All right.
If you're hearing anything, it's for Burton. But let's get in the car.
Okay. All right.
And be ready to move if something should happen. Either Burton comes down firing randomly, or the Hound of the Baskervilles shows up.
All right. So you guys are going to get in the car. Are you going to? I heard it that time.
Yeah. Very high-pitched, yappy little dog.
Doesn't sound like a wolf so much. Dachshund.
Are you going to drive away, or are you going to keep watching?
I think we should get in the car and we should look at Mr. Burton's house using your rear view mirror.
Okay. You can see rather clearly he's moving around upstairs. His lights are on. Dr. Blackwell becomes more nervous. She becomes jumpy. And she seems to be hearing something or claiming that she's hearing something.
Look, do you want to stay here, or do you want to go?
I don't know. What if it's coming for us, Alfred? I don't know. Is it coming for John? Is it coming for us? Is it coming for everybody?
I don't hear it. Randall, do you hear it?
Nothing.
It's not even a howling anymore. It's like galloping feet. Not like a horse, but like a large animal's running. How do you not hear that?
I have some harder liquor back at my home. I think it will do you some good. So let's go there.
Dr. Blackwell, do a spot hidden roll.
Just barely passed.
Okay. So as you are looking down the street, and now you kind of realize that if you were looking at an aerial map of Arkham, that Hayright's shop and the cemetery would be in that direction. As if whatever it is traveling in a straight line from the shop to Hayright's house. So you're not really looking on the road, but you can see a strand of woods over here that's sort of partly in the town. And you can see what looks like a purplish flame off in the distance, galloping in this direction.
Look, I'm pointing right at it.
Look,
can't you see it? Can't you see it? It's coming.
The two of you can do a spot hidden. And God help you.
Please fail, please fail, please fail, please fail. 89. I
12.
Okay. Randall, as you're looking, at first you don't see anything, but then you sort of see something that you think might be moving. And then as it sort of is clearing that strand of trees, you see this wolf bear thing running on all fours like a wolf, heading directly towards you guys and the house. Alfred, you don't see anything.
Jesus, Alfred, it's coming. I don't care if you can see it. Get us out of here.
all right.
Alfred, yeah, drive. Let's drive away. Let's get a little distance at least.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna start driving
Hell.
back to my house.
Yeah, you've got mirrors. You've got stuff. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Chances are you also live in Uptown, so
Oh yeah.
probably just a couple of blocks over.
Mhm.
All right. So you drive down the street, and Dr. Blackwell, as you're looking in the rear view mirror, you see the thing leap into the street in front of Hayright's. And as it stands there for a moment. It smells the air, and you're not sure, but you think that it might look in your direction. And then it looks at Hayright's house, and you see it leap in towards his house as you guys turn the corner and go away.
Okay, I think we have a little bit of time. He's gone to Hayright's house, but we need to go because I think we're next. It looked at me. We need to go.
All right. So get back to my home. I'll lead my two very jittery companions into my den.
Should I make a sound roll, Tom?
Did
I
I
see
make a
enough?
sound roll?
Oh, do I need to make one too? Sorry.
Yeah, you can make another one too.
And so I did make that. But I definitely know that he's in trouble. That like Mr. Burton is
Right.
properly fucked. So a successful sand roll. I rolled a 1d4.
1d4.
Yeah, 4.
Dr. Blackwell, you passed.
Success,
1d4.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Where's the fun in that? There will be more.
Morrison, the brandy.
Yeah, I got Canadian whiskey.
You have bow and arrow, Alfred.
No,
Do you think it matters?
but I think I have hunting rifles.
Perhaps that's enough.
I am fond of hunting. I'm a pretty good shot.
Jesus, what was that thing?
Do any of you have the occult? Well, you should.
Yes.
I have a Colt.
Why don't you roll the occult?
That
On
is
the nose, right on the nose.
barely a pass.
Okay.
Scraping by.
Based on what you think from folklore and stuff, it might not necessarily need to be bow and arrow. The point was fire. And wood
Fire and wood.
through the heart.
Jesus.
The arrow was just a convenient means of getting it there.
Well, do we dare call the local precinct and tell them that Burton is in danger, or are we just inviting?
I think we're just inviting more death.
If something bad, I mean, being the witness of both deaths in that family.
Yeah.
That's true.
That poor son of a bitch should have taken me more seriously than I did. So, Doctor, I think yesterday it looked at you.
It did. It was terrible. Wood. Randall, do you have something we can kind of fashion into some kind of...
Look, the fireplace.
Steak?
There's wood at the fireplace.
Yeah. Well, I my guess. Well, I don't know anything. We're not very far away from the Burton house. It's not as though the sun's going to rise and disperse that
No.
thing.
I mean, we have a car. Could we simply outrun it? I don't know. Until the sun. But then what? We're just delaying the inevitable?
No, I think we find the largest mirror in the house, mounted above the fireplace, make ourselves a comfortable redoubt in front of the fire, drink a bit of this Canadian whiskey, but not so much that we're insensate. Maybe open a can of, some preserves and see whether you can finally be close enough to see this thing, Alfred.
Randall and Dr. Blackwell, you suddenly hear howling off in the distance.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Alfred, you still hear nothing.
So I'll go. I seem very nervous. I'll go grab my hunting rifles, or one of them, and load it. Or at least, well, I wouldn't load it. Keep the rifle and the ammo. And I'm like, I'll go get the mirror.
I'll start a fire.
We both know it has something to do with wood and fire. Christ, I'm not good in a fight at all.
I mean, I'm gonna start a fire in the fireplace, and I'm gonna start sharpening kindling. I'm a fairly deft fencer.
I'll help. I'll do what I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fire will make us cozy. And the howling, what did it sound like? Did it sound like it was on the hunt, or was it reveling in a kill?
Sounds like
It's getting closer, Randall.
it does definitely sound like if you go by the descriptions in the books, it probably blasted through the front of his house, found him, and tore him to shreds. And it only took a few minutes to do it. So now it's reacquiring its next two victims.
Alfred, if this turns into nothing at all but hearing silly noises, you have permission to mock me for the next 3 months at the society. But
I'll take it. I'll get you your mirrors. So I'll go to
You
my house.
certainly have.
Yeah, I'll get them each a mirror of their very own. So here's a mirror for Randall, and here's a mirror for Dr. Blackwell.
Might as well open the door so as to reduce property damage.
Alfred's door, yes.
And what sort of weapons do you guys have? You're making something?
Kind of fashioned stakes from...
They fashioned stakes from my fireplace, and I will load my rifle.
Okay. Stakes are about this long.
Fire logs, yeah.
The most aggressive marshmallow toasting tools we can build.
All right. It takes you a few minutes to do that, and as you're doing that, you definitely can hear that something is getting closer. You're hearing at first the howling, but then you start to hear the sound of pounding feet, as if something was running in your direction.
Alfred, get ready. It's
coming.
An actual thing.
There is a moment where the air inside the room becomes suddenly chilly, and the general atmosphere, you can almost feel it sort of suddenly push against you as something moves into your front yard. You can see the flickers of purplish light coming through the door as this monstrous thing leaps in through the door. Alfred, you can do a spot hidden roll.
It was
Failed?
no, it's an 03. It's an extreme success.
So this time, you see it. You can do
Well,
a
really,
send.
it's time to spend 48 luck to send it in the opposite direction.
Roll
I swear,
sanity.
officers, I don't know what tore them to shreds in my living
Oh.
room.
Did you roll sanity? Yeah. You can all roll sanity because the thing is
06 is a pass.
terrifying.
Failed.
Okay.
It's a success.
Alfred, do a 1d4. Randall, you know what's coming. I think you do a 1d6. Dr. Blackwell, I want you to do an intelligence roll.
Okay.
So I rolled a 1, so apparently
Okay, you're
I
more.
passed
You're
extreme success.
okay. So do a 1d6, but you won't have any insanity.
5.
Okay, you managed to pass that without going bananas. But you scream. Alfred, you had your gun ready. What do you do?
I shoot it, I guess.
Okay, go ahead and do a firearms roll.
A 10 is an extreme on the dot.
Extreme. All right. You are pretty sure, since you've probably been hunting many times, that you put a bullet right through its skull and nothing happens. You see the bullet hit. You see the bullet hit the wall behind it, splinter the wood.
I passed the next sanity check for that.
Dr. Blackwell and Randall, the creature is in the room and it's sniffing the air and it turns and starts looking over at the doctor. You hold up the mirror?
I'm holding up the mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
The creature does a lunge forward at Dr. Blackwell and sees its own reflection and recoils slightly and sort of freezes, turns its head side to side, looking at its own reflection.
Randall, get it. Randall,
Yeah.
Randall, get it.
Plunging firebrand into beast.
Okay, do a brawl roll.
Such a brawler. Such a brawler. Not a penny. Okay. Oh, 36. What is that? It's unsuccessful.
Okay, you jam your flaming torch into its shoulder, and it twists just as you do that from the pain, and looks at you. It bellows this horrifying ear-piercing noise, but you completely miss where its chest would be, and it's about to just reach out a claw and attack you with it. That's exactly what it's going to do. Do you want to try to dodge or?
I think I would fall backward even if I didn't want to under
Okay.
this, you know.
Okay.
So I guess that'll be
A dodge.
a clumsy dodge. 87.
Okay. It actually failed. So it swings at you as you fall back. Do you fall back like behind your mirror?
To the
Or
best
did you-
of my ability, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was imagining we were setting them up against chairs and things so we could have
Okay.
this sort of cowardly panopticon.
Okay. It seems a little dazed and angered, and you can see a claw come up and sort of knock the wooden stake out. You can all do spot hiddens when it does that.
Ooh, an 08. That's an extreme.
And see,
And
and
those
now I fail.
Okay.
I am
Well-
still just staring at this.
As you look, Dr. Blackwell, and realize that it's now facing Randall and his mirror, that as it knocks this thing out of its arm, the wound closes almost instantly. And within a second or two, there's no wound there any longer. But it's moving towards him, and it's somewhat confounded by the mirror. I think Alfred can have another chance to do something if he wants to.
Well, I don't want to shoot at it now, because if it goes through it again, it's going to hit. That might hit somebody.
One of them, yeah.
So I'm going behind where they have their mirrors. I want to get to the fireplace.
Okay.
I want to get something from the fireplace too.
All right. You can do that. Dr. Blackwell, what do you want to do?
I'll try to attack it with the stake. Get it where I think it'll hurt it.
Do a brawl.
Fighting brawl. I don't even have enough luck to make that work. No.
You got a 99.
No. He did. Oh, okay. I got a 63.
Okay. What's your brawl?
25.
All right. So once again, you manage to hit it with the fire, but you don't.
Not in the right spot.
You don't get it in the chest. At this point, it bellows extremely loudly. It hurts your ears, and it is going to swipe at the mirror. If it can shatter the mirror. And it got an 05. So the mirror in front of Randall shatters into a million pieces and flies across the room. So Randall, what do you want to do? It will pounce on you in the next round.
I mean, all I can do is since the firebrand that I attacked it with is no longer on my person, I have to get another one from the fireplace. So I'm going to be floundering on my side off in the direction of that to grab a hot piece of wood.
Okay. So let's call that a dodge.
That's fair. I'm off by 9 points. I will happily spend 9 points.
Okay.
Given that my other option is a terrible death.
It failed. It brings its paw down right where you were laying and literally cracks down into the floor. It hits so hard. You roll out of the way, and it turns and it looks at Alfred, who is doing something. He's reaching into the fire.
Yeah, I want to stab it with something from the fire.
Okay.
Ooh, a 13. That is, I believe, a regular success.
Okay. He failed to dodge anything that you were going to do. So, I'll say that you hit him pretty good with a piece of flaming wood, say right in the chest. And when you do, he reacts rather violently and pulls back from you as you hit him. And I'll say roll a 1d10 for damage.
6.
Okay. Doing 6 damage to him. Dr. Blackwell.
I'm going to do like Alfred and run for the fireplace to get another weapon now that my
you probably still have it. You're stabbing at him.
Okay. Okay. Then yeah, I'll take another
stab
at him.
All right.
I will spend the luck on that one. That's close enough.
See how this does. I got an 89.
I have regular success.
Okay. Why don't you also do a 1d10 roll?
10.
Very nice. Okay. The creature suddenly backs away from you, its eyes flaming with bluish flames, and it bellows. It might be getting ready to run away. Randall, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna make a foolish lunge with a fresh firebrand.
Okay. I have rolled terribly with this.
17 is a regular success.
Okay. You make a connection with your firebrand, let's say going right through the back to where the heart would be. Go ahead and roll.
1d10. 6.
That is enough. You stab it, and the creature bellows, and it whips around, and you can see that from the spots you've hit, it starts to flame, that sort of purplish blue flame. The creature twists and turns for a moment. The flame in its eyes begins to go out, and the general overall color of fire around it fades away, and as it does, the thing is not there. All of the damage that it's done is there, but the thing fades away with a kind of bellowing yell.
All that, and I don't get it mounted on my wall.
But you know what, Alfred? I was right. And that's the most important thing of all.
And that's the end of our story. It did, in fact, tear Burton to shreds. He didn't stand a chance. He shot it a couple of times.
So did he orchestrate Valerie's death?
Okay.
Or was that all? Yeah, I want to know.
So you got some of it right. He traveled to Russia because it was actually a business deal that his father-in-law had set up before he died. His father-in-law, Avery, had been sending him out to collect jewelry that was making supplies that were really subpar. So they were making money by buying cheap fucking jewelry and selling it at high prices. And he didn't particularly like that, but once again, he had no say-so in the business. And while he was in Russia, and he had a girl on the side, Joanne, he found this necklace. And he just thought it was really pretty. And he purchased it. And it came with some provenance. It came with the pieces of paper, like you guessed. But he didn't read Russian. So he brought it back home. And he had it in his suitcase. And his wife found it and appropriated it. And he, of course, had to let her because he couldn't say that it was really for his girlfriend. So the necklace. Oh, wait, let's get to that in a second. So he figured out that what he did that morning was he woke his wife up early in the morning. And he said to her, I think I left something on at the shop. And she berated him, told him he was an idiot. And he took her, they both went down to the shop. And what he had done was he had rigged the electrical so that when they get into the shop, there was no power. And so they're in there for a few minutes, and he says, the power seems to be off. I'll go check the breaker. So she's standing there in the dark, and he goes and he turns the gas main on and lets the shop start to fill with gas. And then he goes out the back door and he gets in his car and drives home, knowing that she'll get fucking annoyed after a few minutes and she'll go see where the hell he is. She'll go to the breaker and she'll flip the switch. And the second she flips the switch, ba-boom, the whole place goes up. He goes home and just goes back to bed. And then after a while, he's starting to feel like he's nervous about it. So he hops in his car and he goes for a drive. In the meantime, you know, everything that happened. what happened was she was wearing the necklace. And the Sons of Velez are supposed to escort people to the afterlife. But because of that incident in the legend, if somebody kills somebody who's wearing the necklace, then the son of Velez seeks revenge for that person's death. So that's why the thing was looking for him. Unfortunately, it was early in the morning, so when the sun came up, it just stopped, and it waited until the sun went back down. It can't function in the sunlight. So as soon as the sun went down, it went right back to going for him. And it'll kill anybody that sees it or witnesses it. So that's why it was coming after you. If you had managed to kill it in any other way, which you could, just come back the next sunset. And you'd be screwed. So the only way is flaming wood through the heart, and that will kill it. Other than that,
none of us had seen it.
Yeah.
No, like what if none of us had seen it that first night?
Well, then
play around with it a little bit.
Story. Yeah.
Someone sees it. Yeah.
Somebody has to see the damage.
No, I just didn't know if the story like went somewhere with it. If you didn't see it.
I figured it would be one of you, or it would be more than one of you, but somebody has to see it. Let's see. He really had no idea what was coming. And you would have gotten some rewards if you had figured out a way to save him in the process, even though he was a murderer. He went for the second drive because he was starting to regret what he had done. He just murdered his wife. And at some point in the past, he did love her. And things didn't go the way, and he was starting to regret it. But by 6 o'clock, by the time he drove back up, he had completely justified it in his mind. And he was like, she deserved it. And he had resolved and everything. He was going to then he'd already packed his bags. He was just going to go to New York and meet his girlfriend.
Spend money on that hussy Joanne.
Yeah.
It was one of the funniest psychology roles ever, because I pictured him like pulling into his driveway, hopping out of his car and whistling while he skipped up the steps and being like, I don't think he feels regret.
Yeah, he didn't at that point feel any more regret. Anyway, that's the story.
And the next day, all three of us made shrines to the god Perun.
That's right.
In hopes that lightning would protect us.
Nodens.
Or Velez.
Yeah, that's right.
Our players included Holly Buto, David Gasaway, and Morgan Llewellyn, with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The cost involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.